Live, boys. Thank you for jumping in. I'm going to introduce quickly. We've got obviously GMT as usual with his fancy new camera. You literally look like I don't know, like a model of some sort.
You can see the pores in my face.
Yeah,
Like it's so clear.
yeah. Was going to mention that, but no, it's fine. We've got Steej, of course, who's barely awake because it is 12 a.m. He's had a hard day at work, but here he is, committed to the cause. And special guest Ballin4life, which I believe it is 7 minutes past 6 in the morning for Ballin. How you doing, man?
I'm awake.
He's
barely,
awake,
but yeah, ready to go.
I'm going to start off I've just decided to do something new, so I'm going to start off pretty much every show with a guest by just asking, what do you think of Diabotical, just in general, based on what you've played from Quake Live and stuff? What do you think about Diabotical?
What do I think about Diabotical? I'd say it has a lot of potential. There are a lot of things that are being done right, but there is still some stuff to be worked out, and really just hope the kinks get worked out. I've been having a lot of fun playing it. Can't really deny that. But then you do have the occasional frustrating moment where it's like, okay, there's still some stuff being worked out with the netcode, some stuff with the maps. But they are doing the daily patches, so there's just the hope that it just keeps on an upward trend the whole time.
Yeah, those 100 patches in 100 days. I don't think I've ever heard of a dev team doing anything like that. The game is pretty much open beta, right? Can we agree on that? Like, it's not fully released, surely.
I mean, according to them, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like season one in any game is always an interesting time.
That's a good point. It's hard. Yeah. It's easy to forget that there's seasons, right? So that's kind of interesting. Right. Obviously, the couple of big things that happened, recently. We had the EU team qualifiers, which GMT casted literally every match of, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, pretty much. Saturday and Sunday, I think. Both like 6-hour broadcast days, not too bad.
But, 6-hour broadcast days.
Yeah, saw quite a few games. Don't ask me about them. Can't remember.
Ah, shit. All right, moving on. No, I was gonna wonder if you noticed anything, because obviously Ballin, I know you play in the didn't you team with was it Cali and I want to say Carnage Johnson in the NA teams?
Yeah, I did for the last tournament. There's been like all kinds of crazy team shuffling in NA, so I'm actually on a different team now with Zorak. So Zorak hit me up. He wanted to team, and he's been one of my friends in Quake Live for a really long time playing duel. So he wanted to start playing the team mode. So I'm actually now teaming with Zorak, but. Yeah, in the first tournament.
I think this was all started by Vedmedic, actually. This whole shuffle, am I right?
Yeah, I wasn't sure how much of that is public or secret or leaked or whatever, but sure, you...
Steej brings the goods. Vedmedic.
Yeah, you can...
Vedmedic's out.
There's also that tweet that Brick made about certain characters. And it seems like Cygib's not on that team, so...
Yeah,
it's just such a shame because I feel like such a crucial part of that team.
My understanding, I guess, since pretty much the cat's out of the bag on this, is Vedmedic is very busy with school stuff, and it sounds like maybe he doesn't have enough time to fully commit to practicing and all that, all the scrims and everything. So. I think that team is picking up Cygib, and that's Brick was not pleased
shady
about
individuals.
NA doesn't change in any game, does it? It's
NA
always
drama.
The same. You literally are the Oracle as well, Steve. Aren't you? How did you even figure this out? You're crazy.
Vedmedic's just caused an avalanche, just a chain reaction.
I actually didn't know about any of this, so I was very much enjoying listening to some of those moves, because obviously, Ballin, you were right to point out that for our first episode when we were chatting about Vedmedic, that he's been a bit of a beast this whole time, right? It's no real secret for you guys over there.
Yeah, I mean, well, for the people coming from Quake Live, I mean, we all know him from Quake Live. So I mean, the thing is, he had like some different names, you know, a couple different names in Quake Live and stuff. He was actually, I remember back in QuakeCon 2016, which I played in, he was supposed to play in that, and I think he like the night before got food poisoning or something like that, and so he wound up not showing up. But I remember back back when I was practicing for QuakeCon 2016, you know, playing him, and you know, he was playing Rafa and stuff back then. So like I said, I think what was his name at that time was like El Capitan or something like that. But he had a bunch of different names and stuff. But I mean, you know, we and then he played a bit of Quake Champions. He got, I think, top 4 or top 3, I think, in one of the 2v2 events with Yenem. So I mean, yeah, he was definitely a good player for quite some time. But you know, anyway, I just want to make sure the Quake Live people are laying at least some claim to some of his accomplishments, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, that's funny. I was gonna obviously, I mentioned this to you last night because I only became familiar with yourself because obviously me personally, I'm fairly new to all of this. So every day I'm like learning new stuff about new people. Obviously, I became familiar with you guys pre-Diabotical when I was just kind of watching any Quake material that I could, and then I kind of stumbled across Davis's stream, and then I'd see you guys would always be running duels kind of most nights with Ray and duel bars. So did you guys kind of what was your sort of trajectory to now? Did you kind of stay playing Quake Live when it all kind of moved over to Quake Champions? Like you had a sort of clique of duelers, right, that would play?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much what happened is, all right, so Quake Champions came out in what, like 2017?
Yeah.
And yeah, so we, you know, there were a lot of people in 2015, I guess I started playing Duel really in like 2015 or so in Quake Live. So 2015, 2016, you know, there were a bunch of people playing Duel because at the time it was still in QuakeCon and all that. So, you know, there was a decent number, you know, small community of people that were practicing for QuakeCon and stuff. And so Quake Champions came out and pretty much everybody at least tried it or, you know, played it a little bit in 2017. But there were a good number of people, you know, good North American duelers who just after 2017 or whatever, you know, didn't like the round-based duel or, you know, didn't like some other things about Quake Champions and just went back and started playing Quake Live, you know, just for fun, really. And yeah, my understanding is that Quake Champions has improved, and people that did stick with it, like the time limit duel change, or at least some people do. But you know, but a bunch of people that maybe like 4 or 5 or so people that were good duelers, you know, we're just playing Quake Live for fun this entire time ever since 2018, basically. And I mean, you know, those people have been doing pretty well in Diabotical, at least all making the kind of top 8 of the NA test tournament and stuff like that. I'm talking Zorak, Davis, Ray, Joel Bars. I think that's everyone. I don't know. Probably I'm missing a few people.
You're gonna upset
someone.
You're
missing yourself.
Yeah, some. But yeah, those are kind of the 4 like people who are still pretty good in Quake Live. People who could beat me at least in Quake Live. So they all have been doing pretty well in Diabotical. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say because my kind of theory, like you look at Europe, right, and you kind of know who the big dogs are, especially early on right now in Diabotical. Obviously, we still have the QPL to kind of think about, so obviously a lot of the, you know, historical big names are in there. Same for NA, but the thing about NA right now is that because you guys stuck to Quake Live through those you know, from 2017 till now, like if you ignore like the QPL players like Rafa and DeHang, who I'm pretty sure would come in and do quite well, or at least would after some practice, obviously. NA's kind of wide open to who's kind of... maybe Zorak is number 1 right now, but I think NA with you guys, with your core of sort of 4 or 5 or 6 players who stuck to Quake Live, it's quite open, I would say. Like if NA had another duel tournament, which you will, I think, at the end of the year, it's actually very exciting because you have no idea who really is going to be, you know, number 1, and it feels like any one of you could beat the other on any given day. Am I kind of accurate there?
I mean, I guess so. I would say in Diabotical specifically right now, it's like definitely there's like a gap after Zorak and Vedmedic. Just in my experience, it's kind of like those, they won both of the first two tournaments that we've had. Unfortunately, we haven't really seen too much of them playing each other. I know they've played like maybe a couple practice games, but that's about it. So
it's quite interesting to see it on Twitch.
I think there's a gap there. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say on Twitch, obviously, where there seems to be a dual tournament, and then the next tournament is a team tournament. You say even if you just look at Twitch, right, you see everyone just playing teams right now. Like no one's playing dual really on stream. And then I'm sure kind of near December when the dual tournaments start, we'll see everyone dueling on stream now. So it's quite interesting that they flip it around like that.
Yeah, everything's super focused on teams right now. Hardly any of the kind of top 10 or so people in North America are playing many duels right now.
And I was going to ask you, because obviously I think, am I right in thinking when Vedmedic won that second test tournament, you were in the final with him. What was it like playing against him? What does he do better than others?
I mean, well, so I had actually been one of the few people that played him in some practice games, and I know he's seen a couple times he said like on stream and stuff that he like hasn't lost a single game in practice to anybody besides me. So I guess I'm the only person who could talk about beating Vedmedic in a game in Diabotical. But so I don't know, it's kind of interesting. Like it's hard to explain, I guess, but I mean, obviously, like he has really good and consistent aim in a lot of situations. But I think the biggest thing that he is really good at, I mean, aim-wise, is it's not so much that like in an extended shaft arena type LG fight that he's that much better. Obviously, still really good, but like he starts like he like snaps his aim onto you with the shaft really quickly. So like especially with how the netcode is, where you kind of start getting hit before you realize where they're coming from. Like he like hits you harder, faster, if that makes sense. Like his aim is just on you very quickly. So definitely that's it's definitely pretty strong with like the rushing down with the shaft. And then but I don't think it's fair to say that he's like an all aim player or anything like that. I think he's like really smart with applying pressure. So that like when he has the advantageous position, like he's definitely like pushing his advantage really well. So I definitely like I think at some level in duel things just come down to you have to just be like 5% better than the other guy at everything. So I think that's definitely a factor. He's just really strong with everything.
Do you find that to be the case, Steej, when you obviously play against some of the top players in your region? Obviously, you had the dual tournament this weekend. You sadly fell to your teammate Kama in the final, and all I heard the commentators say was how good Kama was in combat. Like he's like insane in combat. What do you reckon?
Yeah, well, I haven't versed him too much recently. We played a lot early on during the closed beta weekends, and I had the upper hand on him like quite comfortably in most games. And then he sort of stopped playing me. Him and Frace went back to their usual training, I guess. They played each other, and he played some other weaker opponents. But yeah, I didn't really play him until, I don't know, a month and a half, and then until now. So I was sort of caught off by his style he wanted to play. But I sort of know I can do better versus him. I know I can beat him. So it's like, I think I just need to change the way I play a little bit. I sort of got stuck into that death cycle where it's like he was choosing the fights on his terms, where it's just after the items, you're a 10-second gap. So it's like I do really good damage or whatever, but it didn't mean anything because he'd just go cycle again and then find me again. It's like I think I needed to play, like, slow the game down a little bit and stuff like that. And I think if I slow the game down versus him, I can sort of outplay him a bit with rotations and stuff, because I think he's a bit weak on timings and a bit weak on the rotations of the items. So that's my strength on him. And yeah, obviously he beat me 3-1, but the games I did lose were pretty poor on my behalf.
Well, I think GMT, you obviously watched, you casted, you got up, I'll give you the props that you deserve because you've mentioned it a few times. GMT woke up with like 50 minutes notice yesterday morning to wake up at 6 in the morning to cast the Australian Dual Cup, which is you're everywhere, GMT. People in chat say it all the time. Man. You're everywhere.
Miss Worldwide.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to become Pitbull.
Worldwide.
Did you happen to catch many of Kama's games during some of the earlier rounds? I'm assuming he just played the same, or what?
So we were trying to avoid the big names and then only get them later on, give some people exposure. I mean, the Aussie scene's very egalitarian in that way. So I saw, I think, one series of Kama's, and I was struck by how aggressive he played and how ambitiously he played. Like, he could take an item, or he could fight you, then take the item, and he will always take that second option. And sometimes it let him down, but for the most part, it worked. And if it works 80% of the time, then you're golden. But I do wonder, I feel like, similarly to Karvik, actually, I look at his style, and there's something about it that doesn't quite add up in my head. Like, I feel it can be punished in one way or another. But he's a joy to watch in the same vein as Karvik, just so aggressive, great pincer accuracy, great combat awareness. Very, very fun.
I don't think, like, again, when I'd watch a lot of Quake Live stuff, like, I'd never seen, I don't think you'd see a style, well, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think you'd see that kind of aggression, and I don't know what the answer would be to it, because if anyone hasn't seen it, by the way, you need to go and watch on the Kawachi Cups Twitch VOD, watch Kama play, because it's almost like Steej, he kind of like went into like a secret training boot camp just to meet you this day, because obviously Fraze didn't play in this tournament, did he not?
No, he didn't,
because he was obviously away at work or whatever. But I think Fraze was with Camo or something, and he was all up in the chat as well, saying he's still the best and his rockets are still the best in the world. Ballin, I know obviously I sent you the VODs. I don't know if you had a little skim through those. What did you make of some of the styles?
Let me check my notes that I made.
Oh my
legend!
God, here we go.
It says here. Looks like Kama is hitting 90% rail every game. That's what I wrote down. It was actually a really fun watch. Sorry, Steej. Not because it was super competitive. Just Kama was kind of just popping off. But I will say I was super impressed on the Casbah game with how Kama was like running the map and controlling all the spawns and just constantly like catching Steej in positions that where he wasn't ready to fight or didn't have a rail gun. Pincer, sorry. I still call it rail. It's just
fine.
Habit.
Until we get that sponsorship from the good studio, you can say what you want, mate.
Yeah,
it's all good.
But
I can't.
The Casbah was super impressive. And then I mean Skybreak, he also I felt like Skybreak, the way Kama played, like the map rotation was maybe a little bit sloppy, but again, he hit like 90% rail, so it worked out. But on Casbah, the way he controlled the map was super, super smart. And then I guess Frontier, he was like super aggressive with the rocket jumps, and it just seemed like Steej's rockets were maybe a little bit off, like and just some of his like not being ready to be rushed down like that. So who knows whether it'll work out again. I'm sure Steej probably will, watch that and learn from it, right?
I wonder if, like, because Steej, I wasn't surprised that you took Perilous, because that's obviously like one of your favorite maps, and I think those
the rat map.
Yeah, there's not too many maps like Perilous in the pool right now. I think a lot of those maps are quite small, and I find that it's even at my sort of elo, right? It's quite easy to, if you're feeling it, it's quite easy to catch the other guy like off spawn quite often, and there's really not many places you can go to kind of stay safe. What do we like? Do you think the maps could be? I don't know. Would you like to see a few more maps like Perilous, or is it?
I think the maps.
Is it more than the maps?
I think Skybreak and stuff's fine. I mean, they're not my favorite maps, but the way he plays is like the way in Diabotical where you could play is like really aggressive. I'm sure you felt it by Ved. Sometimes it's really hard to push someone when they're just charging really hard. And Kama does that well, and he hits hard. And I think my lack of not playing top players in this game, like I can't punish that. and I'm sort of like Ballin said, I was getting caught out for places I wasn't expecting, because maybe if you verse a weaker player, they won't be there or they can't get there that quick. But even though it's like they were pretty convincing wins from him, I think like I don't think he'll be able to do that to me again. If I'm able to verse him and Phrase a little bit more, like I'm sure I could work it out. Like I'm not too stressed about that loss, because I know I versed him previously. I know sort of how he plays, but he's sort of a lot sharper this time around and a lot more refined, and he was hitting really hard, so it made it real difficult. But I'll come back. I'll get him next time.
Yes, well, I'll be watching for sure. Well, it's kind of interesting, right? Because again, in Australia, like if Camera and Phrase don't play against you and they just train each other, that's quite an advantage, right? Because who do you then play against? There are some,
yeah.
right? But you can't always be online always at the same time. And I'm assuming when you try and search matchmaking, I bet it takes you fucking years to get a game sometimes, because there's just no one
I just
up there.
don't even search it. I pretty much played two main players, which was Strull and some other guy, which is a bit weaker, Donna. But most of those games are like runovers. So
Yeah.
If
Dan the King doesn't play much as well, Jewel, at the moment. So it's like, there's not much players at the moment.
if your SR is too high in duel, you literally can't get a game. I mean, even in NA, it's like unless certain people are on, my queue will not pop in duel. I'd have to just play people in customs.
Me and GMT don't have that problem.
I really don't have that
games all the time.
1500 club.
Hey,
1500 and quit the game club. All right, I'm safe as houses.
GMT's still on his sabbatical from the game for now. I'm trying to get him back to play some McGuffin with me, but it's always met with a no. But it's fine. So yeah, it's quite interesting because in Europe, right? There's just so many players. I'm assuming even Agent probably gets games fairly quick, compared to NA and Australia. That's got to suck.
My understanding is he doesn't actually. It's kind of similar.
Oh.
I mean, Agent's SR is like 2600 or whatever. So, I mean, yeah. I heard from Zorak, because Zorak and Agent in the 2600 SR club were talking about how they can't get games or something. So,
They've got their own Discord, have they? What do you actually, Ballin? That's a great point. What do you make of watching Agent? Do you watch much of Agent?
Yeah, I actually watched Agent a fair bit on. I haven't watched him too much recently because he's been playing all team games. But when he was practicing for the dual tournaments, I watched him a fair bit. And like he has really good rockets.
Really good rockets.
And also, it's hard to tell sometimes, like, if they're playing like entirely try hard seriously. It seems like a lot of the European players, like, they're just taking constant fights, which might be like better for practice than truly trying to like hide out every disadvantage and stuff like that. But like Agent's rockets and like his kind of read on what his opponent's going to do is just insanely good. Some of the fights that he takes, I'm like, wow, you have a lot of confidence. But he makes it work. So I watched his tournament games, and I think like they played a little bit sharper and a little bit more like a little bit less aggressive maybe in the tournament. But hey, I did do a VOD review of Agent's like crazy comeback on Casbah against Carwick in I think the winners finals of their test tournament. So yeah. Go check that out on YouTube.
Hey, little plug. Little plug.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that, mate.
But yeah, he just, he's decent with the rail, decent with the shaft, and his rockets and his like predictions of where his opponents are going to be are just really good. And he just, like, I think having a lot of confidence does help. Like knowing, like, even when his plays don't work out, it's like he still has like the confidence to go for the next play onto an item.
What I always say about Agent is like the old mantra: if you're in a team game, all of you have to go together. And if you do a bad plan together, that's better than doing the right thing separately. And Agent's a bit like that. He's so decisive. He just does things and he commits fully. Like he's very easy to read, I find. Like when I'm watching his POV, I know exactly what he wants and why he's doing it. Whereas other people, even very good players, I'm looking at, I don't know why you did that. Because they go this way, they go that way. They are a bit, but Agent's just on things.
Yeah, he's very laser focused. I was going to, again, we kind of mentioned it a little bit last week, but obviously I'm always looking for new, fresh perspectives. Ballin, what do you think, in your experience and what you've seen from all the regions and stuff? Obviously, we've got quite, and this is good for the game, I think. I think we've got like different duel styles, right? So you've got kind of the Kammer and Karwik kind of damage is premium. They're always looking for damage before the item and stuff like that. What do you make of that versus someone like Agent who, to me, from the untrained eye, seems to just play a very kind of vanilla Pac-Man style because his timing is very good. He'll just grab the items first and then kind of fight a second. What do you think? Is there one better style, or is it kind of undecided?
I mean, that's not really how I view Agent's like style of play. Really, I mean, maybe it seems like that, but
yeah.
I mean, for him, it's probably like it's like so automatic, knowing how to get to the different items and take them. You know what I mean? Like, I find like in Diabotical, it's not really the same. Like in Quake Live, you can really just completely choke somebody out of the map, like by only taking the items where it's like really hard for them to do anything because you can just deny like every armor. But with the way the map are in Diabotical, it's not totally possible, and some things about the armor system and stuff. So like, I don't know, Agent to me, it's like he also play like, I don't know, it's like he's like always ready for whatever his opponent's gonna do. Like it's not just pure tunnel vision on the items, like I guess. But okay, to the general point about like damage versus items, I think like I don't know, it's really hard to say. Like it's like in some situations you want damage, and in some situations you want items. Like if both players are totally stacked and have like 150 plus armor, then and like items are all about to spawn. Well, in that situation, it's like you would rather do a bunch of damage, like take a fight, and then get the item after. Right? Like if you lose 100 armor in the fight and then you take the red armor, like now you've regained it all back. Whereas like if you just take the red armor when you already have 175 armor, you're only gaining 25. So, I mean, that's not exactly like a rocket science example, but
no, of course.
I mean, I think it just depends. Like overall, it sounded like I was listening to the winner interview with Kama, and it's like he said he's like a lot more comfortable with the constant fighting approach. And like when you are constantly fighting, if the other person doesn't do something to like stop you from getting the items after, like you'll like win the fight, get the item, win the fight, get the item, and like that becomes really easy to snowball. Whereas he said he's less comfortable if like both players are super stacked and there's like one big fight and then you like back off to this item, back off to that item. He said like, and I know Steej kind of mentioned that's like more of his weakness as well. So I don't know. I think there's also like a situation too with how the armor system works where out of control, like if you do just enough damage that the person can keep denying every armor, that can actually be a negative where you really just want to hide and do 0 damage, and then they eventually won't be able to deny blue, or like they'll have to self damage to deny the yellow and stuff like that. So anyway, I guess the overall thing that I'm trying to say is like, to me, it just depends on the situation, which like whether it's better to like play for the item or play for damage. I mean, the only thing I will say is you usually don't want to play for the item in a way where you're going to take a bunch of damage, like that negates the item. Like that's usually bad. But if you can make sure that you're taking the item and not taking any damage, sometimes that's really good. Like if you're low stacked, that's really good. But if you're already fully stacked, I'd usually rather fight and then try to play it out in such a way that I'm going to take the item after the fight.
I've been thinking about this a lot. There being sort of these two philosophies, and one is like, if I have any advantage, that's fine. And it doesn't matter how big the advantage is, they just want a small one, and then they're golden. Someone like Firebot will like rest on his laurels, pick up every item that he can, and accept that his opponent is getting the other items. Like a lot of the time, it's like, I'll trade red for Mega rather than going to attack the red and back onto Mega. So it's a little bit more passive, and I think it's interesting because it requires a level of confidence to do that. You have to be confident in that really like that big fight you were talking about, winning that one. Whereas if you're a very aggressive player, it's this different sort of confidence that you can go into disadvantageous positions and still come out on top. But it's like two polar opposites that are actually, as things tend to be at the extremes, quite similar, just in a different sense, like a different point of view.
Yeah, one other thing there that's kind of interesting to think about is if I'm playing somebody who's not as good, I typically want to play them a little bit more aggressively, because if I let everything come down to like, 3 big fights over the course of the game, then there's a chance that I screw up and lose fights. Whereas if I take 20 fights against somebody who's not as good as me, then it's really unlikely that I lose, more than like a few of them. But if I take 3 fights, like they could win 2 out of 3 and win the game. So like I think there's definitely something to like against somebody who is worse than you want to speed up the game, and against somebody who's better than you, like you want to slow the game down.
Yeah, I was going to. That's a good point, because even I'm sure GMT is the same. Even I've experienced that in like matchmaking, right, where pretty quickly in the first sort of 2 minutes whether you're a lot better than the other player or not, and it quickly becomes like you just speed up the game. You're just trying to get it over with as quickly as possible. And Steej, I was going to ask you, you must experience that kind of even more exaggerated than that, right? Because obviously, if you can't be practicing against Phrase, Kama, and if Danaking's not really playing, you're probably playing against some of these slightly less skilled players, and you're probably not getting, the optimal, experience, right? Or practice or training,
I think I'm a bit behind in some regards when it comes to Diabotical. Obviously, Phrase and Cam are big Quake Live players, whereas, I was never that great at Quake Live. I sort of started in Quake Live. And I think in that game, you sort of have to play out of control a bit more similar. In Quake Champions, you sort of have a lot more tools in your arsenal to play defensively. You obviously have your ability, you have double jumps, movements, which in this you don't. So you have to be really, you have to be really solid out of control and not make mistakes. And that's something I'm probably lacking in, which is made it hard for me to slow games down. Especially not, obviously versing strong players is the only way that you're going to get better at that style. So I think I just need to do that a bit more and sort of work on that.
Out of control in this game seems, to me, it looks harder than it was on Quake Live. I know on Quake Live, obviously, you can deny all the armors if you're in control, but there's just something about Diabotical with we've mentioned this last week, but with the lack of utility on the LG and stuff, it feels to me that it's just hard to stop someone rolling you if you're not prepared for it.
It can be, but it's like playing like a ghost is harder. I think playing like a ghost is harder in Diabotical, which, like Ballin was saying, that can be an effective strategy when you're out of control and just wait for them not to be able to take that cycle. And if they're taking fights on their terms, that's when it snowballs. But if you're denying them those fights, they eventually not going to be able to pick up items. So that is definitely a viable strategy. I think it's harder to play though.
I completely disagree that it's easier in Diabotical, or that it's easier in Quake Live out of control. I think Quake Live's like 10 times harder out of control than Diabotical. And like in Diabotical, you see a lot. Part of it is the maps too. Like there's usually like on all the maps, the red and the mega are like really far apart, and you wind up just a lot more frequently with like the way that the spawns and the cycle work out, where okay, I just died at mega, I'm gonna spawn on red and take a red, and I at least have something. In Quake, like in Diabotical, it is really bad. It's very, very difficult when you have 100 life and like 0 armor, but there's a lot like that situation happens a lot less frequently. In Quake Live, you have a lot more tools with 100 life and 0 armor, because like there's more situations where you can like do damage with rockets and like back off while taking literally 0. You can push them away with shaft a little bit better and stuff like that. But it also happens like all the time where it's like, oh, I just died at red. He's now getting mega, because like I'm not going to just spawn on the mega. The mega is like a lot closer to the red. On a lot of the Quake Live maps, it's like you can get there in just a few seconds. And so like the situation where you have literally 0 armor and you have to like scrounge to find a yellow armor or something like that, it happens way more to me in Quake Live. So I find Quake Live a lot like tougher out of control for sure.
The only
go on, GMT.
Okay, the only map that feels as hard as Quake Live to be able to control is Skybreak at the moment. I think the other 4, as you were saying, that split control happens so much. Frontier, I think, is the best example. At least in my experience, it's pretty impossible to get a 4-item lock on that map.
Yeah, I think on all the maps, it's really tough to truly get a 4-item. I think Skybreak is maybe the closest, although it's actually more difficult since they moved the yellow armor. It's like you have to go that extra 1 to 2 seconds, so you have to like go to get to the yellow armor now that it's way in the back of the mega. It really does make a difference. I would say like Frontier. I think the best example is probably actually Bioplant, where it's like there's literally just like a humongous wall where the red is like.
I was gonna when
like,
you were saying that,
far away.
I literally thought of Bioplant because I was like I didn't even consider the spawns when you said about Diabotical versus Quake Live, because it made me think
too,
the amount of times I just spawn on red on Bioplant when I've died. I'm like, oh sweet, I'll get red in the shaft.
It really happens with the red on Frontier, where you kill somebody at Mega and they spawn like at the red, and it's really hard to attack uphill. That's where Camo was like using the rocket jumps really well to like get up top, so that he would have kind of the like high ground and good position in the red coming from Mega. But so yeah, it definitely happens on Frontier too. Bioplant was the first one that jumped into my head as well.
Yeah, and I suppose my the difference between I'm used to just watching Rafa on Quake Live, so he was kind of the king of out of control. I suppose where I didn't actually play Quake Live, it's probably a much different story. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't do anything out of control in Quake Live.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely different, but there's still a lot of similarities, I guess. Like I said, the portion of the game where you have 100 life and 0 armor is definitely pretty tough in Diabotical. And I mean, it was tough in Quake Live too, but you maybe have a little bit more to work off of. Yeah, there's so many more situations where the items wind up getting split, and you have a lot more fights where it's like, okay, one guy has 100 life, 150 armor versus a guy with 200 life, 150 armor, where it's like, okay, 1 rocket, 1 rail pretty much evens that out. And whereas in Quake Live, there's a lot more like 300 plus total stack just rushes in on a guy that has maybe 50 armor and 100 life.
Yeah. I also feel like in Quake Live, though, it's like you could be even 150 and the guy could be 200, 200 or whatever. If you have rockets in a strong spot, they're most likely not going to push you, because it can be devastating. With the rockets, they can stop you and stop you in your tracks to 0 UPS. Whereas in Diabotical, the rocket bounce, it's like defending someone charging in is extremely difficult. That's the difference, I think, that's why it can be a bit sketchy playing out of control. That's you constantly have to run. I think in Diabotical, you can't hold your ground in strong spots.
Yeah, you definitely cannot hold your ground in the same way, and you kind of have to have a plan for how you're gonna back off. I mean, it's like the same general fundamentals, I guess, but like Quake Live, there was a lot more. You could just hold your ground, and part of that is the netcode too. Like into you in Diabotical, like you got to remember, like they're shooting basically from their client, which is like farther ahead of where you're seeing them. So like your like knockback and all that stuff is like it doesn't in Quake Live. It's like there's, especially online, right? There's like a delay before they can shoot the rockets by their ping. Like where you're seeing them is like a little bit more accurate. Like there isn't that like peeker's advantage to the same extent like there is in Diabotical. So the rushdown is a lot stronger in Diabotical.
Yeah, they're obviously making changes to the netcode. I read it briefly. Obviously, they made a little change to higher ping players on the netcode, I think yesterday or the day before. So that'd be quite cool for for when Russians play us on EU West. That's obviously quite a big ping. I'm sure you get it a lot of times in Australia, Steej, from the coast to coast.
Yeah, well, mainly versus Fears, he's on about 100 ping, and Kama, I think he's on about 70.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, sometimes like his style is also pretty devastating on that ping. With the way he likes to play, you know, you probably take about 50 damage from LG as he's coming into a room before you realize where he's coming from.
Jeez, yeah,
Rails
that's
around
rough.
corners and stuff like that. But that's just part of the ping, you know. It's not, he can't help it. It's not ideal. It's probably, you know, bad for him as well. But I think on high ping in this game, it's definitely not as bad as other games. I think it's a lot more lenient for them.
Here's a little fantasy question, Ballin, for someone who's played against the likes of Rafa and I presume Dehang and stuff. What do you think if you had to theorize their kind of success in Diabotical if they decided to duel? What do you think that would look like? I'm obsessed with like fantasy booking or like, you know, I don't know. How do you think they would do? I'm assuming they'll do very well. What do you reckon? Oh, is he? We've lost him. He's dead.
Oh.
He's alive.
He's alive. He's back.
Okay, podcast noob, and I didn't realize my phone was on 10% battery. Sorry.
It's cool, man. If you're ready to answer, I was going to ask about if Rafa and Dehang, for example, were to come over to Diabotical, what do you think their duel would look like? Do you think they'd look good? Do you think they'd be the best?
I mean, I think realistically, you have to say, yeah, probably, right? I mean, they were so good in Quake Live, obviously, and Diabotical is maybe a little bit more similar to that. And then they've also been practicing Quake Champions constantly for however long, and you know, the aim and all that stuff is still going to carry over. So, I mean, you know, they've been doing nothing but practicing for however many years. So, of course, I think they'd be really, really good. And I think so. I heard Zorak talking about this quite a bit, and Zorak is definitely pretty. I don't know if cocky is the right word, but he's very convinced that everybody's horrible at duel, I guess. And Zorak is like, oh, you know, yeah, Rafa would for sure be the best at this game if he were to come play. I think the way Zorak kind of put it is like Rafa was the best in Quake Live, and at the time his combat skills and fighting they're obviously super, super good, but maybe like he had some disadvantages relative to the other top players, like you know, if he went up against like Strengths or Toxic or whatever, like you know his LG wasn't as good as theirs and stuff like that. But like now he's been playing Quake Champions a bunch, and his like aim is just getting better and better and better from all of the Quake Champions practice. So it's like if he comes over to Diabotical, he's gonna have like, you know, go from whatever on the pro level A- aim to like A+ aim, and on top of that still being, you know, super smart, understanding duel, the rotations, all that stuff. Like so that's kind of how Zorak put it. It's like he pretty much has no weaknesses at all in his game, so Rafa would be super good. I personally don't know as much about Dehang because he kind of quit Quake Live before my time, before I really got decent at duel. But yeah, I mean, Zorak said Dehang would also probably be you know, be really good. So yeah, but I also with Rafa, you gotta just like factor in, it's like this guy's been like a champion gamer for whatever, over a decade at this point. It's like there's no way. Like I remember I watched the first episode of this podcast, and FaZe was talking about how Vedmedic would like beat Rafa for sure or whatever, and I was just like, I mean, like Vedmedic's a really good player, and I'm not saying that he couldn't beat Rafa or that he wouldn't, but it's like to completely count Rafa out is just I don't know, to me that's like a ridiculous statement. We're talking about a guy who is like the best of all time at duel in Quake Live, best of all time in duel at Quake Champions. Like to say that he's to count him out in Diabotical if he were
not only that,
it's crazy.
But it's like he's one of the very few people who actually do this full time as a job, and he's already the best. So it's like trying to catch him is, you know, next to impossible.
Yeah, FaZe I think was playing the role of the hot take kid when I think he got a bit ahead of himself there.
See, I want to talk about that though, right? Ballin, am I right in thinking that after the NA test tournament, There was a Reddit thread in which you said I was a bit too critical of Agent. Or was that someone else?
Yeah, so there was and
Oh, I'm
by
settling
the way,
in.
I'm not.
No, this is good. This is good.
I'm settling in.
So not just singling out you, by the way. It was
I know.
also Jahar, I think, right? But I guess I mean, and it wasn't just, I think, the EU. I think it was like, I forget if it was the NA tournament, EU tournament. Maybe it was both, but yeah, I just said something like, there were a couple situations where I was like, people like left an item up for a reason, and then the casting, I know it's like, it's hard, you're trying to follow what's going on, and also give play by play the whole time, but it was like the way it was phrased in the commentary was sometimes like, oh, it looks like he forgot about the red, as opposed to like, oh, he's deliberately leaving the red up to like go do something else on the map. And I just thought the way I thought the way it was phrased was maybe a little bit too critical, or
Sure.
sometimes that's, so I mean, yeah, it was just meant as like constructive feedback, and also, not singling you out in particular. It was like the combination with Jahar, I think,
Right.
like, but yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
So
I
what was
don't
the
disagree
question?
with
Yeah.
you. I don't disagree with you at all. But I think it's an interesting topic. Basically, how casters and desk hosts, I guess, go about. Like, should there be a majority positive tone? Should we praise more than we criticize? And if we criticize and get it wrong, which I think, on reflection, when I went back and watched that VOD, I was fully with you. Fully with you. It did feel off, and it felt, I don't know, almost like mockery rather than something useful. But this idea of a broadcaster being more positive than negative, or, how bad is it? Okay, no, here's how I put it. Would you rather that a caster said things that were their genuine opinion and be wrong, or play it really, really safe and never say anything that could be controversial? Because I think in the case of that cast, we missed the mark. But then there have been other times where I have had a bold claim, and I think that adds to the drama and it adds to the entertainment factor.
I mean, it's definitely going to be a balance, like between the two. Like, I don't want somebody to give a completely like fake cast, because that would be bad as well. Like, there were definitely, I remember a couple of the games that were cast, especially in the early rounds, where it's like, oh, these guys are just running at each other, and it's like,
Right.
all right, it's probably like, that's probably not super inaccurate. But I just felt like it went kind of like past the line of being okay. Like, I was starting to be a little bit like less entertained, like, especially, I think it's good to maybe just like lean on the side of like being charitable to all the players, because like, obviously it's hard to think of 20 things in the heat of the moment in duel anyway.
Absolutely.
And then also, when it comes to just like a more entertaining cast to watch, I mean, I like watching and feeling like, okay, like, these are good players that I'm watching, rather than somebody feeling like, oh, these players are bad. Like, it's like less entertaining to watch. And then
Yeah.
also, from the point of view of Diabotical, it's like there's all these like really great duelers that are playing in Quake Pro League. So this, like, I mean, I don't want to like feel like, okay, I'm just watching like, like
The
random
leftovers.
scrubs that are that are dueling, like, that, people that aren't as good as the Quake Pro League people or something like that.
Yeah. I think one of the issues that I have when thinking about that, obviously I'm trying to cast as well as I can, and that means listening to the audience in a big way, is if I have to call more people good than I currently do, and I have to start using stronger and stronger words, like, so if the scale is shit to excellent, most players have to be not excellent, right? And so I feel like you need to reserve certain words and certain terms for only the very, very best, because that way the language has meaning. And you can, unfortunately, sort of, what's the word, dilute the meaning of everything if I have to say the 20th best North American dual player is a very good player. Obviously he is. He's better than me, but in the context of a tournament played by the very top tier, I feel like I don't have a lot of room after that for more superlative language for someone that is 20-0ing that 20th player.
So at least for me, like, what I would say is, and again, like, I don't really have experience in casting. This is just my like opinion when I was watching, but I don't think you have to say like, oh, this guy is really good necessarily. But like just in the casting, I think it's better to just highlight things that people did well. Like even if somebody makes a mistake, like I'm not saying it shouldn't be pointed out, but like there was not anything on the like good side either. Like, oh, that guy hit a nice rail, or like,
Right.
you know, he said, you
So
know,
yeah, it's more like a blanket statement rather than sort of individual moments where they may be playing bad or maybe playing good.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's one interesting thing that from a player who is really known for shit talk in North America.
Spill the beans. What's his name?
So this Quake Live player named KGB was really known for shit talk, and he's pretty much just casted like community stuff for fun, like more or less, like a couple of these really late stage Quake Live tournaments. And so he'll go in every cast and definitely, you know, way more unprofessional than all the Diabotical casts have been, but
more
like,
unprofessional than that. Jesus Christ.
No, he'll like shit talk people, but he'll also call out when they do something well. And I think it's like he had like a good balance. Also, like he's a really good player. Like you can look up, you know, he played a bunch of the Quake cons and stuff in Quake Live and was super good. So, you know, he's definitely like, I don't know. It feels like I'm like, okay, he's allowed to shit talk people, I guess. But the but like he would really call out when somebody did something well. Like he would talk people up in their good moments more, so there was like more of a balance. And that's like a guy who's known for shit talking. So
well, it probably
anyway,
it probably carries more weight when someone like that praises someone, because it's probably yeah, you know, he kind of because he's not dishing out praise all the time. So when he does give out praise, it probably actually means a bit more to the audience and to the player. But yeah, you're right though. You can't just, I suppose in the community and stuff it's fine, but yeah, in the big boy tournaments you can't just be shit talking the whole time.
I feel like casting is just a really tough job, you know.
It's hard to win everyone over.
You don't obviously you don't know what's going on in the players' minds, but you're trying to convey what you're trying to interpret that for the audience, which obviously is never going to align 100%, and that's the difficult part of casting. I think even if you get it wrong, like it's bound to happen.
And just the fatigue, right? After like 7 hours of casting, you know, you're like, you're probably like, you just hate everyone. You're like, oh, everyone sucks or whatever.
Well, the thing is, after 7 hours, you're not quite sure what you're watching anymore. And I don't know what a good pincer is 8 hours into a cast. I have no idea. It's like they all look pretty good to me, because it just blurs. Like you would be shocked by how little I have memory of casting anything at all. Like it just doesn't go in at all. So and it's always funny because I'll come out of a cast thinking one thing and then I'll review the VOD and I'll be like, oh no, completely wrong. I was like, because people were saying I was ragging on an agent, and I was like, yeah, but I phrased it as if, you know, his shaft's bad and the fact that he's still winning is amazing. It was a backhanded compliment, but a compliment nonetheless. Turns out I didn't say that. I just forgot.
Yeah.
He said his shaft was bad.
Yeah, with the agent specific thing, I don't know. I guess one thing, yeah, it's like, I mean, he's known for not having as strong of a shaft as like some of the other really good players. But I think one thing, it's like the same thing what I was trying to say when I was like, okay, Rafa didn't have as good a shaft as like Strengths and Toxic and Quake Live. It's like, when you actually play these guys, it's like they're still really good. Like they're like, if you throw them up against somebody who's like, you know, 500 elo below them, it's like they're still going to destroy them with shaft, with like with everything. It's just like, yeah, compared to somebody who's like another pro, then sure, they're a little bit weaker, but calling it bad is like an overstatement.
Yeah, I would agree. Like in a very literal sense, but at the same time, there's this temptation because you're trying to build the most interesting story, and so you have to try and build up these ideas of who these players are. Because frankly, it's a little bit boring. It's like, here's a 26-year-old that's sitting in his computer and he plays like 98% as good with this weapon as the next best player. But we have to turn that into something. We have to sort of simplify it and codify it, which is why, I mean, sports do this all the time with nicknames. Someone like Alain Prost, Formula One driver, called the Professor. And the entire shtick with Alain Prost is he doesn't have the raw speed, but he was a genius in the way that he approached things, and he was very intelligent. Now, the fact was he was very intelligent, but so was Ayrton Senna. But the other thing is that Alain Prost was also very fast. But when you're trying to build these characters and you're doing it usually in a comparative kind of a way, it's easy to fall into these traps. So it's like, I have to mention what Agent's good and bad at, and then what I need to do, or at least I've learned from community's feedback and from yourself, is I just need to change my language a little bit so it's less harsh. Because to say Agent has worse shaft than his contemporaries is fine. To say he has bad shaft.
Yeah, I think that's good to like build a narrative for the game. I think that's necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just so we can get lazy with it.
I think that's yeah, and also just adding in like more praise of what people are doing well, like while watching. That's the only other thing. Like even if somebody is just playing completely crazy and like rushing in, like if they hit a couple nice shots, like calling it out can help go a long way. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's just an easy narrative if you simplify it down so much, where it's like, let's say it's Agent versus I don't know, Sirius, right? Not just a really good cracked out shaft aim.
Yeah, like I'm going to want to call that Brain versus Brawn.
Yeah, or Agent bad shaft, Sirius good shaft. Who's going to win? That's like a really simple way of doing it, but yeah,
it is lazy though.
I don't know too much about Sirius and in particular, and like if he's been playing Diabotical Duel. Obviously, really good shafter.
I'll tell you just quickly, Born. I'll tell you who he has duelled against. Me. He was doing his placements.
Oh no!
Doing his placements, and I fucking got matched against him. I got 12-0'd, and he had 57% shaft. I wanted to kill myself on Bioplant. Yeah. So yeah, there you go. He has been dueling. Got some good practice against me.
Someone kind of similar that I have watched a little bit more is Fishy from Australia, where like really known as a big time shaft user, and I was kind of curious what Steej would say about playing against him, because I feel like, I don't know, just my take is like if you're hitting over 40% shaft in every single duel game, then you're just not using shaft enough. Like you need to
that's the thing. Yeah. It's Fishy has very good raw aim with the LG, but the way he utilizes it is not as efficient as you know, someone maybe a top level jeweler. He sort of, I think a lot of the people that have really good aim with the shaft sacrifice their movement and their dodge to make it easier for them to hit, and also spam less and stop shooting earlier. Every top player, you know, you watch really good shafts throughout the years, you know, they spam all the time. They're not worried about accuracies, and I feel like a lot of these guys are really worried about their accuracies, which can affect them, because I think Fishy does have really good LG. He sort of holds it back a bit, I think, and that's a problem. And in duel, you know, he's good in the raw fights, but in duel, obviously positioning makes your aim a hell of a lot easier. So it's not uncommon for him to actually get out aimed in duel by a top player. But yeah.
Well, it's what Agent does so well, right? He preempts his opponent, he hits them with early shaft, and also the thing that allows that to work, because his raw aim is not quite the very tippy top tier, is his weapon selection, right? It's just, if he ever uses a shaft, it is by far and away the best weapon for it. Whereas I feel like those people with really strong shafts, they're in love with it. It's sort of the problem. They're in love with shafting.
Yeah.
So they just want to use it whenever they can. Like, they're trying to come up with excuses to bring out the shaft. It's like, no. Rockets.
Fuck,
they'll save you.
I hate rockets.
I mean, the people that are like really focused on accuracy, I'm just like, if you really hit over 40% like every single duel, it's like, yeah, you got to be like pushing in with that shaft. You got to be like, you know, like pushing around corners with it, using the peeker advantage. But like the thing is, like when you're rushing into a room, it's hard to lock on your shaft that quickly. That's what I was like really praising Vedmedic for earlier, was like he starts hitting you like hard early, you know, whereas I feel like a lot of people that hit really high accuracy, they're only using shaft in the situation where you can hit shaft for high accuracy. Like they're not like pushing in with it the way that they should. But then you would hit 39% instead of 45%. It's like, who cares, you know? Like,
yeah, I didn't realize that there's like this weird, like almost subculture of like aimers that like live in like Kovacs aim trainer. And they're like, this is new to me, because I've never trained aim, as you can probably see when you watch my stream.
Hang about, yes you have.
What do you mean?
I've seen you in the Kovac.
I bought Kovacs once and I refunded it. It's not in my Steam
All
library
right,
anymore.
fair play.
Because I had a mate when we were trying to get this little side story when Valorant came out. I had a mate who was like, "Oh, let's try and get into Valorant and stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna get Kovacs and like track all my progress and shit." I didn't realize that was like the gateway drug that he was clearly taking to get into this little weird clique of aimers. So I downloaded it. I did one thing and then I was like, "Nah, this is boring as fuck." So
It's for the Zoomers, mate.
yeah,
people-
I didn't realize it had this whole weird following and.
It's mouse mat spreadsheet people. They're the scariest.
Fucking geeks. That's what they're geeks.
Schedules and training schedules. People pay for that.
Really?
Fucking hell.
Well, like coaches and shit, right?
Yeah, aim coach.
Aim coaches, they put a little schedule like a workout.
I know somebody who's like a big time Kovacs grandmaster and all this stuff.
What?
And,
Grandmaster?
Okay, yeah. So there's like a Discord and a whole community where they have like ranks, and it's like based on your Kovacs score. It's like if your scores are this, you're like silver, gold, platinum, diamond, master, grandmaster. Like it's all based on your scores.
Do you know what those guys are like? They're like those fake martial artists that like think they're teaching them, and then they get fucking smashed up by like an actual fighter in like 2 seconds.
There's people who play Kovacs as their main game. Like they stream Kovacs, they play it. Like they don't
Streaming
even train it.
Kovacs.
They don't train it for any other game. They're literally only there like, and I mean it's kind of fun. Like if you're just going for high scores and whatever.
High scores,
yeah, it's like how much of it transfers over, I think depends on what you do and stuff. But anyway, so this guy, like he had me. I sent him some videos of me playing Kovacs, and he wrote me like, you know, like a 3-page report on like my aim and all these different, you know, scenarios and stuff. So it gets in depth over in the if you like jump into that Kovacs world.
Oh man.
What happens when the squares start shooting back though?
Yeah.
And what happens to their aim?
it's yeah. I mean it's funny. So a lot of the people in there, they play Shaft Arena, and they're all like coming from Kovacs where. Like, even if a scenario in Kovacs allows movement, like a lot of them are just standing still, right? And even if something allows movement, you literally min-max your movement just to hit more accuracy, right?
Yep.
So then, like, when they place someone in Shaft Arena, they're all trying to learn how to, like, actually, like, dodge at least a little bit. So it is pretty funny. I mean, I'm in that Discord. I see what they talk about playing Shaft Arena and Diabotical, and I get a laugh out of it. I try to help them out a little bit, or the ones that want to play Duel and stuff like that. They all hate
show them
rockets.
the light.
They hate rockets, by the way. They all are like, I'm so much better at aiming, and this guy's just rushing me with rockets. And it's like, I'm like, yeah, rockets have a higher skill ceiling to me than, you know,
for sure,
than the hit scan guns. So,
well, I feel like
go on.
Every Quake, the better people get, the more rocket dominant it sort of becomes, right? Like if you think about Rafa at the end of Quake Live in his heyday, was all about just that free damage, right? It's so powerful because you can hit someone while they're not on your screen. And I feel like it will always go that way at some point. Like, it's just a natural default.
I think it's just rockets are the most versatile and powerful weapon. So inevitably over time, people's spam is going to get good and they're going to get more comfortable in rockets. And it's by far the strongest weapon if you get into a fight, even medium range. If you can hit good rockets, you can dominate pretty much any weapon.
Well, I know because it's just rockets are just my weakest gun, and I think they will be for some time. I can't fucking hit rockets consistently.
Gotta make yourself use the rockets. I mean, the thing about the Shaft, right, is like a lot of people want it to be like the main gun, but the thing about Shaft is like it's super consistent, right? Like even if you're missing Shaft, you're still hitting like 25%. You know, like, so like you're still doing some damage. Whereas with rockets, like sure you can hit splash, but it's possible to totally miss. So it's like more risky. It feels like higher risk to use. But like with that comes a lot more reward when you do actually hit people with directs, or you like pop them up and then hit them in the air and stuff.
There's nothing worse than like versing like a rockets versus LG and you miss a few rockets and you're just like, well, I'm just taking damage and not doing anything. But yeah, like you said, if you can really pop them up with rockets and just like bang and then straight into like a mid-air, you get kills very cheap, and that can really snowball your control. Because if you die cheaply in a game like Quake or a game like Diabotical, you're really on the back foot and you're under the pump.
And
Yeah,
it's how you swing fights, right? Like, even if I'm going against somebody who hits 50% LG and I only hit 40%, if I outstack them by like 100, I'm still not losing that fight. Whereas if I whiff all my rockets and they hit their rockets, like, they could destroy me despite me outstacking them. So you can't win fights like that with LG, really.
I saw a comment once, and it was like, if you're getting into just straight up LG versus LG fights in duel, you're playing duel wrong. Basically, you shouldn't be really in that situation all too often, because it makes sense to me. Because you're.
I think if you're in control, you always want to take LG battles because it's just consistent trading damage.
For sure.
Yeah.
But it's hardly
you
shaft
need-
arena, is it? Where you're just standing in front of each other all the time. Like, there's always going to be a variance in stack and positioning and stuff.
Well, I think that's one of those things you need to work out, like mid duel, your shaft versus their shaft, and then you decide how you're going to approach that. Like when I ladder, when I used to.
Come back, GMT.
I'm not coming back.
Come back.
I'm playing another game. I would sort of try. That'd be one of the first things I wanted to work out about my opponent was like, okay, does he rush rockets? That's the first one because I want to be careful about that. And then the second was like, if we go shaft to shaft, who wins? And then I would just not take shaft fights. Like I played Lady D. Her shaft's nuts.
Oh,
Didn't
mate,
touch it.
I know.
Just steered clear of that weapon.
Dude, she's no fucking joke with that thing. Jesus Christ.
The one other thing I just wanted to say real quick about Shaft Arena is, like, compared to Duel, in Shaft Arena you have like a 10-second round countdown to line up your aim, and you don't have that in Duel. You gotta like snap your aim onto them quickly. I know I keep talking about that, but it's like it's such a huge difference, right? Like, and also in Shaft Arena it's like you're tracking for like 10-15 seconds straight because of the vampiric damage and all that. It's like, fights are over way quicker than that in Duel. You got to like snap your aim on fast and start tracking them fast. You don't have 10 seconds of tracking. Anyway,
I really like Steej's idea from way back when we first had a chat, Steej, and you said about in the arena modes, if everyone started off in like a cage, like gladiator style, that'd be so fucking cool.
Yeah, arenas just meant to be for fun, but it's kind of annoying when it's like you're both standing in front of each other with rockets, and it's like who gets that first rocket has a massive advantage.
Who's jumping back first and stuff like that. Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah, man. I mean, I think we're going to start wrapping it up for now. I know Steej is literally hanging on by a thread right now. What is it, 1 a.m.?
I'm all right.
You're all right?
Yeah, 15 past.
That's not too bad, eh? Not too bad. Ballin, I was just gonna kind of ask, what are you playing currently? Obviously, with the team stuff kind of done for now, are you dueling more now, or are you taking a little break, or what's kind of going on with you?
Team stuff is starting again. I think the next tournament is in November for teams, and the next duel tournament is in December. So where everybody's just playing more team stuff.
Yeah, it'll be 2 weeks from this weekend. NA teams, I think.
Bloody hell, they come around quick, don't they?
Yeah. So EU teams is this weekend, and then I think there's a week break.
Is it like NA qualifiers again? Same sort of format?
Yeah, there's another round of qualifiers.
Ballin, I was going to ask you about your opinion on the team modes, actually, because if I got it right, wasn't you quite a team player in Quake Live as well, like TDM and stuff? Or have I got that wrong?
Sure, but I mean, I basically started getting good at Quake Live when Quake Live was already pretty dead, so there weren't any team game tournaments that I played in, right?
No.
Like the first QuakeCon I went to was in 2016, and by that time, 2015 was the last big Quake Live team tournament. So I don't have a ton of experience in Quake Live at like the top level of like being on a team and doing scrims and all that. But I mean, I was definitely a good player in the pickup games. Like we just for fun would play TDM pickups, CTF pickups, all that. And so sure, I was like one of the better players in the pickup games, but it's not the same as being able to say like, okay, I'm like an elite, team game player who played on a team or anything.
Yeah, of course. So have you played much TDM in this game, in customs or anything like that?
Just a couple games. So the North America TDM people, we got like the commands to turn it into like 30-second weapon respawn. And all that stuff from past arena FPS games. So I mean, it's pretty fun. I mean, I like it. I mean, the maps are kind of interesting. Like on Icefall, like rail is just insane. It's like the sight lines are
Yep.
just huge, but
it's quite a small map as well. Like I'm no expert at all, but I have played a few pickup games with Abzo and his little group of cronies that like to do pickups. And
do they play 3v3 or 4v4?
3v3 in TDM. Yeah,
Okay.
and
Weapon drop activated.
yes, with
as well.
weapon drop.
Yeah, we play with weapon drop, too. It's funny because so in Quake Live TDM it's 4v4, and it actually is super hard to get a gun with 30-second weapon respawn.
Yeah.
So it's like definitely the most punishing mode. It's super fun to play if you ask me, but I'm also the guy that's getting guns and just killing people that only have machine guns.
Oh, you're that guy. I see. Yeah, because I'm the one dropping the guns. You see, so it's not so fun for me when I'm just tagging people with machine gun.
You guys get guns?
Yeah.
I'm just sitting on a YA and then like, come on, it's clear. Come on, come get it.
But so going to 3v3, I'm already like, wow, there's so many guns on the map. Like it feels like it's so easy to get a gun in 3v3, and then of course like that's still way too difficult for any new player. Like you know, you're used to coming from Wipeout where you have every gun, so it's like oh, I only have machine gun like for 10 seconds while I try to go find something. You know, that's like too much. Whereas in Quake Live 4v4, it's like it's actually, you know, can be quite tough to get a gun sometimes.
What were the maps like in Quake Live for TDM? Were they kind of similar in size and stuff, or was the resources quite scarce, like they can be on Icefall and stuff?
Bigger than Icefall,
I would say.
Yeah.
I would say pretty similar in size, but also like again with it's like the same amount of resources on the map, but 4v4 means there's 2 more players fighting for those resources. So like you're loving getting like a shotgun or something. You're like, oh wow, I'm good to go now. Now I'm good to fight. I found a shotgun. So yeah, the maps are pretty similar in size. I mean, Quake Live had a good variety of maps where there were some that were like constant MG fighting, and then there were some that were like a bit slower. Like, I mean, I don't know if the map names will mean anything to you, but like there was like a spectrum from like Hidden Fortress and Dreadful Place were super fast maps, and then on the slower side you had maybe like Hidden Fortress and Dreadful Place, you could see games with like teams having 200 kills or more, and then like
Jesus.
On like the slowest maps would be more like Purgatory, and then a map that we don't even play in North America, Grim Dungeons. Grim Dungeons was like this super slow map where one team hangs out on one side of the map, the other team hangs out on the other side of the map, and like the game at the end team will only have like 70 kills by the end of the game. Like,
sounds like they named it correctly at the very least.
What's that TDM map everyone seems to love? There's a block out of it there was in Diabotical. I'm blanking on it, but that's like such a unique map that I think we need something similar to it in Diabotical.
We've got Blobby in chat. He's
I'm going absolutely blank.
Could you describe anything about it?
Yeah, sure. There was a little water section with a telly that went up to a couple of pillars. The shaft spawned next to the power up, or it was either next to.
Is that Limbus? Maybe?
Limbus,
maybe
yeah,
Limbus.
yeah.
And there's like, the shaft spawns next to power up, and there's like a window above it where you can look down. Yeah, that's Limbus. That's a good map. That map is I don't know. To me, that's like a very standard TDM map, so I'm not sure what's unique about it, but that was definitely one of the maps that we played a ton. There's kind of like a lower level and an upper level, and the upper level has like a red and a rail, and the lower level has like mega shaft and power up. And so kind of the way that map would play is like you would try to hold the upper floor, and you would get your team a bunch of rails, and then you'd have to push out from that upper floor to go get the power up, and like, you know, basically hit a bunch of rails to like secure the power up for your team. That was kind of how that map played. Like the out of control area was like the low ground that had like shaft, mega, and power up, so they had position on power up, and the in control area was like this red rail area. Yeah.
Well, I suppose Quake Live has not only does it have obviously the longevity on its side, but I think once I think we mentioned this last time, but once the community get hold of the map maker, we'll probably see tons of fucking crazy maps of this game. Yeah, and I am very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, that should be coming soon. Because the mapping contest is, I guess,
Yes.
little less than a month is the initial deadline.
Hmm.
So they have to have the like content server up before that, so that people can play test maps easily. So that should be coming fairly soon, I think. I've been looking at a bunch of people's maps for the contest, try to give them some feedback. So
Oh, cool.
hopefully we get some good maps out at the end of it.
Is it looking
I think,
promising?
yeah, season 2 would look pretty good with the map wise.
Yeah.
There's some maps that have I guess okay, so there's some stuff that I'm it's like top secret. I'm not
Yeah,
supposed
not
to
allowed
leak
to
it. You know,
say,
the lawyers the lawyers will be on me for leaking info about stuff from the mapping contest. But
Prosecutor
there's
Napalm 3D, come and get you.
yeah, there's some maps that have really cool art, but you know, still need some work gameplay wise. And then but you know, like it's like if you have 20 maps come in that mapping contest, at least a couple of them will wind up being good after they go through some iterations. So
The
Nice.
Quake strat, just fucking like the Quake live strat. It's like, how many maps did they have? And there's only a few good ones.
Pump them all
It's
out.
bound to happen.
Yeah. There's big money at stake for this thing as well, which is kind of crazy, right? It's a good thing from a good thing from the good men at the good studio. That's what I'm gonna say.
Oh,
And quickly, Ballin as well. But have you had a chance to play much CTF? Because I think when we play it, I think we play 4v4. It's not 5v5. But we play 4v4. And I again, if I'm repeating myself, I apologise. But obviously, I've first time speaking to you, Ballin. But I didn't even fucking know that there were like roles in CTF. So like when I was first like learning it, Abzo was like, "What do you want to play?" And I was like, "What?" I was just gonna run around and just capture flags. And he's like, "No, like someone's got to be a defender." And I was like, "Oh, I quite like the idea of that. Just sitting in the base, picking up armors and killing people." So that was new to me. What do you think about CTF in this game? Have you had a chance to play that?
I mean, I haven't played it too much because been focusing on the duel and then the modes that are actually being played in tournaments and stuff. I have played it like maybe a couple times in the beta, one of the betas. But I mean, I really liked CTF and Quake Live, so definitely kind of miss it and wish it was a bigger part of Diabotical. The problem is like, because I don't think you can make CTF work 3v3 easily, or you would need like special maps for it or something.
Yeah. That's a good point.
And because all the esports stuff is 3v3, it's just really hard for that to take off from like an esports standpoint. But who knows? I mean, maybe it'll be a thing in the ranked queues. But that's yeah. I mean, I definitely missed it because it was the Quake Live CTF. I think was super fun. I mean, it was probably the best like esports team mode for Quake Live, and you know, anybody understands capturing flags, and it's a little bit less. TDM is just like you're constantly seeing a frag number tick upwards, which is, you know, hard to follow. Whereas CTF, it's like, oh, this guy captured the flag and they get a point. So
yeah, it's just a
yeah,
classic as well. You know, everyone understands it, and like I think CTF in Quake Live is still pretty active over here in Europe. I know the pickup Discord server. I'm pretty sure CTF in Quake Live is more active than the pickups in Diabotical currently, because people clearly think that's like one of the most perfect game modes around at the moment. I'm assuming that's 4v4 as well, right? So yeah, tough to squeeze that in if they're going for a 3v3 type program. What do you think about the current modes that they have chosen? Do you what do you think about like Extinction? We had a big chat about that last week, but I'm always looking for more opinions on it. What do you think about like Extinction as a TDM kind of substitute?
I think Extinction is okay. It's definitely pretty fun. I mean, I've had fun playing it, and I mean, it's not really like, to me, TDM is like 30-second weapon respawn, and it's like you're scrounging for a gun. And I don't know if that would work with the Extinction concept. So Extinction is kind of like easy TDM, like how they had it in Quake Champions with the quick weapon respawns. So I think it's pretty fun. I think for what it is, it's a decent mode. I mean, I wouldn't mind also playing normal TDM on top of Extinction, to be honest.
Okay.
MacGuffin's all right. I feel like I like MacGuffin more as I play it more. Like when you first start playing it, it's kind of like, wow, we're just like grabbing guns and rushing like one point over and over again. And it's like, is there any strategy to this beyond grouping up with your team? But as I've played it more, it's like getting the items in the middle of the map. That does matter, does help. And you know, there's some ways in terms of like how you do the teamwork that are pretty fun. So yeah, MacGuffin's not really my favorite, but it's okay. Yeah, and then I think Wipeout is an abomination. So yeah, like the Wipeout to me, it's like if you took Arena, or Aim Arena, or Clan Arena from Quake Live, and if you just like added a bunch of hiding to get your teammates back up, and I just find that super dull. Like, so I honestly wouldn't have minded just. I mean, I really like Aim Arena actually in Diabotical. I think it's super fun. I think the one respawn is like an interesting twist on it, and I really love the fact that you go to like a different map every round, because like Clan Arena and Quake Live is like, all right, everybody, we're on the same map for like up to 19 rounds, and yeah, you just go to that spot and fight the same thing. Like, and like they could do it in Wipeout, where if they had like the map rotating every round similar to the arena maps, I think that would be at least give it some more variety. But
that's a cool idea, actually.
Yeah, when you're playing Wipeout in like a tournament setting and trying to like really play everything out, I mean, I'm not like hating it in the moment because I'm just focused on trying to help my team win. But it's like if I turn my brain back on for a second, I don't like the mode. I don't like the fact that hiding is like highly rewarded by the fact that it respawns all your teammates. So
it's just very inconsistent. It's hard to play consistently in that.
Yeah,
Wipeout as well.
And
I mean, it's a fun mode for casual, but competitive, it just doesn't work.
I mean, I think, yeah, I think Clan Arena, like if they just had Clan Arena instead of Wipeout, like it would have been probably just as popular because people like having all the guns and being able to rocket jump around. So, yeah, I mean, again, I don't know. I have played it totally casually, like literally just running around and messing around, and like I guess it's fun, but I don't know, that's not really me. So, from a competitive point of view, I don't like Wipeout at all. But it's in the tournaments, so when I'm actually playing it, I'm just trying to help my team win. But yeah, I hope that is replaced by maybe TDM or something for future seasons.
I've got a feeling it might be kind of on its way out a little bit, only purely based on like the fact that in ranked now in matchmaking, they've changed it from 3v3 to its own 4v4 playlist. So it's interesting that they've decided to have that as a 4v4 mode and they've kept 3v3 Extinction and MacGuffin. So I wonder if maybe they're kind of going to move it to its own mode in matchmaking where 4v4 players can just jump in and frag out, and then I'm hoping maybe they switch it up for maybe season 2 or maybe at the end of this year.
Definitely a problem.
Yeah.
Counter-Strike, like, sure, there's I guess like a couple other modes over the history of the game, but like those all pale in comparison to the bomb defusal mode.
Oh yeah.
Whereas in Arena FPS, it's like you have all these modes that are like of roughly equalish popularity, and there's people who like only play Clan Arena and they don't play TDM at all, or like there's people that only play TDM, they won't even play CTF. Like, so
yeah, there's segregation within the game itself. If I load up CS or League of Legends, when I hit play, no matter what rank I'm at, I'm playing what the pros are playing. So I'm playing the correct mode no matter what. Whereas, yeah, I didn't realize it was like this. As soon as in this game, there's I know plenty of people who literally don't touch duel, they don't touch TDM, or they don't touch this, and it's because the game is completely different depending on the game mode. I've never played a game in my life where the core game is so different just based on what mode you're playing. You get the fucking people that just play defrag. So you're already getting segregation within quite a small, player base of a game. So it's definitely an interesting one. And I don't envy the devs for having to try and incorporate an esports program that caters to everyone, because I understand why Wipeout's in there, because you want to try and get maybe newer players involved in some top teams who maybe didn't play TDM for years and years in Quake Live or CTF. So it's a tough job, and it's one, unless you go on Reddit, of course, where all the fucking experts are. There's no easy answer, is there, to any of these questions? Ballin can sort it out. I reckon Ballin could quite easily get employed by the good studio and do some esports stuff.
I mean, the truth is though, like, if they come up with the perfect like esports mode, it's really not going to make them any more money. So that's not really where their incentive is, right? Like they, they're working on their game engine, and because like having a better game engine is going to carry on to whatever other games they do in the future, and it's going to like be better for the casual people who are spending money. Whereas like coming up with the exact perfect esports mode is not gonna like it's not easily going to make them money, and it might not work out, right? Like Sacrifice in Quake Champions was a new mode designed kind of for team esports, and it sort of didn't work out. Like it didn't really stick for beyond like a couple tournaments, I guess. So I do like having the multiple modes, the rotating modes for the esports. You just run into the problem where everybody hates like one of the modes. Like some people hate Wipeout, some people like hate Extinction, some people hate MacGuffin. So and everyone's very vocal about it. So it is very tough for them.
Let's just play duel. Let's just do duel only. Is that allowed? Yeah. GMT likes that. Steej likes that. Well, maybe not right now, but maybe you'll like it when he gets his wins back.
Come on.
I'm sorry, Steej. Ballin, man, it's been really cool having you on. We're going to start saying some goodbyes. So you're obviously, I assume then, based on what we chatted about earlier, going to be looking for a new squad coming up for the next tournaments, right?
The big NA shuffle.
No, my team is hopefully set up. It's me, Zorak, and Pitt. I don't know if you guys would know.
Pitt, he played a bit of QC.
Whoa.
I don't remember his name.
That means Death has to get a new team. Oh man.
Yeah. So
devastated.
My boy.
Yeah, we're trying to do some scrims. Like Zora, like so Pitt is I mean he played QC Sacrifice, and he's like really good Wipeout player, and Zorak meanwhile has like barely, he doesn't even know like the Wipeout maps and stuff. So anyway, we gotta.
He's still trying to find the items.
Yeah,
exactly.
Where are the shards?
Nothing to time.
I need to find the shards.
Damn it.
So he's so anyway, we need to do a bunch of scrims to hopefully get up to speed. But I mean I was like, oh, Pitt's a really good.
Good sorry, player, I forgot. I was going to ask you earlier in the show. I'm sorry. You mentioned Zorak, either tongue-in-cheek or maybe he's not joking, said that everyone's shit at duel in this game. What is a good dueler to Zorak? Do you know? Has he told you?
It's basically just Rafa and probably Zorak himself. Those are like the only good duelers. I think Zorak is like.
Is he like mini Rafa?
He maybe has like. I wouldn't say that, but
no.
I feel like Zorak might have a smidge of respect for Agent as well, because they're both in their little like 2600 SR club, and like I mean I'm just a pleb down at whatever 2480 or whatever, but
I'm gonna look right now, okay?
But so like it's funny, like Zorak on his stream he'll start talking about how like I haven't felt like I've played anybody who's good at duel yet. Like he's like there's people who are good aimers, everybody everyone else there sucks at duel. That's like he's like constantly talking. So
everyone loves a bad boy though, don't they?
You're fourth in the world, Ballin. Come on.
I dropped to fourth. I was third before.
Karvik, Agent, and Zurich will have you beat.
Oh, Karvik passed me. Okay, might have to try to get another queue again, get back to 3. But
you need to take a vacation in Europe, mate, and come and play on the big boy ladder. And you, Steej.
Let me ask real quick, Steej, about Faux Danny. Why didn't he play in the tournament? I mean, he's like the top Australian on the leaderboards. What's going on with him?
Yeah, but he's like the only person that plays ranks pretty much.
know,
Danny's a good player. He's probably 4th, 5th best. Probably maybe 4th because Dan the King's not playing, but he's probably top 5 for sure. But I don't know. I don't think he's enjoying duel too much. I think a lot of Australian guys, maybe don't enjoy it as much as they thought they would.
I spoke to him not long ago actually, and he did. I think he went quite hard on Duel early on. Like his stream was kind of popping off, and obviously him and I did some stuff on my stream, and we did that video and stuff. And I think he's a little bit burnt out. You know, I think he's
he loses motivation quickly. You know, before this game came out, he was so keen, like couldn't wait, messaging like, "Oh, I want to become good. Like, let's practice heaps." And then I don't know. I think he loses motivation real quick, and it's even happening in Quake Champions. You know, he went through these sort of phases, so standard for him.
I reckon he needs a couple of new maps, and he'll be back. Maybe he's just a bit burnt out. Maybe.
I've queued into him probably a half dozen times on the Sydney server, and I've like come so close to beating him like a bunch of times, and I keep losing with my like 150 ping or whatever. And so yeah, I just want to like all of his SR on the leaderboard. That's all mine. You know.
Well, he's still above him, so
He doesn't. He's not queuing anymore. He's just holding on to it.
I just farmed people in NA. It's like I'm farming everybody in NA and then sending in
Donating.
all the like
Donating to Australia.
I did wonder how.
Just-
Go on.
With just one monthly payment of 200 SR, you can keep another Australian playing Duel.
Well, I did wonder how Danny has quite a few duels played on the leaderboard, but obviously, if he just played Australians, he would only be playing like you, Steej, or Cameron, Fraze, or whoever.
I've only versed him twice on the leaderboard.
So yeah, who's he getting his games against? These secret NA players he's paying to queue into him on the Sydney server. Hey, suspicious. I'm gonna have to ask him.
Well, it's like I said, when you get high enough, your games just don't pop. Like really, I think there's like if you can't queue into somebody more than like 300 SR below you. So like when you start getting really high up, it's like there's just not that many people that are in the range.
Suffering from success. That's what you lot are doing, aren't you? I remember on Zorak's stream actually. I think Diabotical was or Danchez, one of those guys, one of the Russian guys, was searching late at night on NA East, and Zorak would like beat him, and then like he wouldn't search straight away. So like I think it was Diabotical was like all up in his chat instantly, like search again. Like he just wanted any sort of game. It was like 2 a.m. his time. I thought that was quite funny that we have to cross over the continents to get a game.
I got yelled at on Reddit for making a Smurf account when I made an account and played only using the blaster and tried to win duels with that. So
But by trying, you managed it though, didn't you? Didn't you get to Vindicator like?
I got to Architect, but
Yeah, Blaster's no joke,
I only
man.
played like 12 games though. Yeah,
Still, I'm impressed.
it's a good gun.
So Ballin's obviously you got your team sorted for the test tournament stuff. GMT, you're probably casting everything under the sun. What's next for you, mate? I'm assuming it's the weekend.
Friday we have EU test tournament, playoffs day 1, Saturday day 2, and then Sunday the TimCon monthly duel tournament. 3 days in a row.
Easy, mate. There's nothing for you.
Yeah.
Weekend as well. Get a few bevs. Beautiful.
Yeah, might treat myself to a few lager beers.
Oh, mate, look at that.
Oh.
And Steej, what's going on in Australia lands? Are you dueling? Are you practicing with Cameron Fraze? Or
We're focusing on the team modes. I think we've got the finals this weekend. So
that's this weekend as well?
That's this weekend, yeah. This Sunday.
GMT, there you go. Something else for you to cast. If you got time.
Yeah,
Squeeze in an Australian team tournament as well. Why not?
Get me send me some sort of a link, Steej, and I'll get on that.
And for me, I'm actually helping out with the Girls' House tournament again this Saturday. So it'll be me and Scraws on stream. I think they're doing another Wipeout event. And then they're going to get ready for their invitational. They got some prize money from the Good Studio. They're doing a 2v2 event. So it'll be me and Scraws. And that links in beautifully because I think Scraws is our next guest next week.
Hey.
You're the glue. You're the glue of the community.
You know what I mean?
You got your hands in every pot.
My network is spreading. I'm like that guy from Game of Thrones, the eunuch who just has a spy in every camp. So yeah, Scraws will be on the show.
No differences at all either.
None whatsoever. No physical stuff, all the same. So yeah, Squirrels will be on next week, and we'll be chatting about the plans for their stuff. I see Ash is in chat, yaying, which is great. So yeah, that'll be us. Ballin, anything you want to add, or are you all good, mate? It was good to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me and all that. Despite the early time, when's another dual school video coming out? I gotta get better.
I need to get on that, man. I've been pretty busy with work. I've got a couple of people that want to help me with that. So
when's your next guest, Elo?
Well, I need
Ballin wants to take a shot at it.
Yeah, he does. I know. They need to add the replays in, because I'll tell you what, Steve. As much as I had fun making that video, and funnily enough, you judged Ballin in his gameplay, so I wondered if he was gonna. Yeah, you didn't say anything to me.
I think I said.
You said he was good.
I think I rated him higher than he was.
Yeah,
so
you did.
there you go.
I need the replay system to be implemented.
You picked a horrible game, by the way. You picked like.
Well, I didn't want to make it too easy. Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
I've got to make it a bit difficult. Yeah, I need the replay system to come in, really, because that was a real bitch to edit that, because I had to like have blurry spots.
Your sound issues.
Yeah, don't mention the sound issues. That didn't come out in the post edit. GMT looking like Rambo right now. Yeah, so when replays are in, I'll be able to do a lot more fun stuff, because I have been slacking on the videos a bit, but I've been busy with work. But I do have a week off soon, so I'll probably line up like 3 or 4 and just release them periodically. I think Firebot wants to jump on and do a dual school, which would be cool. And I know Danny's keen as well, even though he doesn't dual anymore, but maybe I can teach him how to play the map if he doesn't play anymore. And I also want to do a little collaboration with Napalm to look at his new map, Monolith, which I haven't had a chance to look at yet, but I wonder if that's going to be a fun map for us all to duel on as well. So, yeah. If not, guys, right, I'm going to raid someone, but we'll be all...
Who are we doing?
I think Poles is playing.
Poles?
Poles.
No, I'm not happy with him. We're not raiding him.
Okay. GMT, you select the channel.
Because his team name, that I now have to say on a broadcast, is Diarrhea Slur.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I agree
with that. Call him DS.
I don't want to call him anything. I want him out of my tournament. Anyway.
Oh, fuck me. Your tournament.
Yeah, a bit far.
Yeah.
But look.
Go on. There's 2.5 lines of streams to talk to.
Have you seen the Australian names? If you're casting this weekend, get ready, because we got one called Dick Boys and we got one called One Big Ball.
Nice. I hope Dick Boys beat One Big Ball. All right, let's. As always, should we do the standard Danchez host?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, he loves me nowadays, so we'll do Danchez host. Why not? All right, thank you for watching, everyone. This will be going up on YouTube at some point. Again, I'm not allowed to do it same day, I found out, so I'll have to do it probably tomorrow. So, thanks again. Look forward to next week, where we'll have Scrawls on the show. And then the week after, I'm trying to secure like a pretty big name. It might not happen, but I'll probably just set myself up for failure there, but it's going to happen. So, Scrawls next week. Thank you, Ballin, this week. And as always, I'll see you later. Say hello to Danchez from me. He owes me a sub at this rate, I think. I've sent so many viewers his way.
So many subs his way by this time as well.
Yeah, I reckon so. All right.
Sub on a new account every time you host it.
Peace out, everyone.
Bye-bye.
I'm off too, boys. I'll catch you later.
You've got to go to bed,
Have a good one, Steej.
I'm well to bed.
And Ballin probably needs to get back to bed.
I'd be going straight back to sleep after that.